Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm so fired up for you to join us today. We're going all the way to Sweden to do this show across the river. It's amazing what the internet can do. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But we also explored the idea of dedicating this podcast to teach you a purpose. And that purpose is using the servant's heart in your life and your work and making an impact and difference. I get to do it every day, and it's the greatest thing in the world. You'll feel fantastic. We're also bringing guests on to motivate you, inspire you, or educate you on the servant's heart, on business, on life, to give you an impact and a difference that you can share with the world. Don't just hold it. Share these podcasts with the world. I'll talk about it at the end. Here's your homework today, audience. I want you to think about how you're going to serve yourself and others today, and think about what the impact and difference you're going to make today. It's a powerful thing. You're going to love that you did it. I want to thank my sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. Join a community of high-income entrepreneurs and business leaders to create this world-changing thought leader platform to grow your business, but also impact and change the world. For more information on Pantheon, just reach out to me and I'll get you all the information. Impact, change, difference, all those fabulous words. It's not happening enough in this world. And I say world because we're going to talk about the world, not just the United States, how we can do things, how we can impact it. You're not going to go out there and make a difference in the whole world. But as I tell everybody, you change every part of your world, and when you link these together, the whole world would be better. With that being said, I am so excited to welcome all the way from Sweden, my guest, Maria. Welcome to the show, Maria.
Thank you so much, Steve. So nice to be here. I'm so happy.
You got me fired up talking to you before the show. But let's talk about the human contract. We know contracts. We know humans. What's human contract?
How can that be? It sounds so boring, huh? Now, the human contract is also, it's referring to actually from the 1600 and the 1700, way back when we had Locke and Rousseau, who were talking about the social contract. And the social contract is referring to us as citizens towards the government, and that we should have a social contract. Now, the human contract is actually, the history from the human contract starts from our 300,000 year history. And our 300,000 year history, in every change, we've always had technology supporting us and driving us to the next level, right? So 300,000 years ago, we had the technology of fire and stone. And then from each shift, we have grown in groups, more and more and more. And here we are, you and me, Steve, talking from different sides of the pond.
Amazing.
All across the world, yes. So today we have the technology for a global, local world. Now, the fundaments that we are standing on is, like I said, going back from it's both the religious fundaments that is going way back thousands of years, and it's the fundaments of the justice system and the political system and the media. The media whose role was to audit the justice system, audit the political system. And now we're moving onwards to a global local world. So in my background is with human resources and leadership. So I worked in the Swedish steel industry, forest industry, but also at the Swedish prosecution authorities. So I see, and we know, that the justice system can't really keep up. It's cracks in the justice system, and the political system is shaking, and the politicians, and I used to be politically active like 3 decades ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also the political system is shaking, and I can feel a lot of compassion for all the politicians all across the world, because it's a new orientation. And so this human contract is a very, very thin framework, just stating that you have rights, you are born with your human rights, and you have a responsibility. You mature in your responsibility. So it's really the core of taken, and with the inspiration from a United Nations Declaration of the Universal Human Rights, but in an interpersonal perspective. So it's, when in a world where we are so divided and so fragmented, the human contract offers a solution of unifying human constitution. And so these 7 principles, the first 3 is personal: body, emotion, and thought. You have the right to your body, right, Steve?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have the right to our body. Just because we're human, we're born as human, you have the right to your body, your emotions, and your thoughts. And you have a responsibility to mature and to care for your body. You have a responsibility for when you have the right to all your emotions, the hate, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, the grief. And you also have a responsibility to trying to mature in your emotions. And we have the right to all our thoughts, and we have the right to be narrow-minded. And I would even say, close-minded, but also responsibility to trying to broaden perspective, trying to mature in our thoughts. So that's the first 3. That is the human contract. And the human contract is not like a written contract. It's principles and promises that you make to yourself, with yourself, and for the world. So
That's
body,
fantastic.
yeah, body, emotion, and thought. And then the coming 3 out of the 6 is power, communication, and life. That you have the right to your personal power, how you choose to use your time, your energy, your money, your body. And you have a responsibility, and this is the learning of being human, because sometimes we take too much space, right? And sometimes we make ourselves small and say, oh, Steve, I can't do this because I'm so weak, and I play the victim here, and in this differences of in fluctuation, maybe, of taking too much power or making ourselves small, it's the learning, and I come back to that later, but I call it istima. So power is the 4th, and then communication is freedom of speech. We have the freedom of speech and freedom of creativity, and we have a responsibility. What we say, we have a responsibility, what we create, and to listen.
Yep.
Yeah, because we cannot only say, I say whatever I want to because I have the freedom of speech. We do, but we also have a responsibility to listen.
That's great.
And that is to mature as a human. So that's the 5th. So body, emotion, thought, power, and communication. The 6th out of the 7 is life. You have the right to your life. you have the right to live with whomever, wherever, and however you like, but not at the cost of any other. So to respect others' way of life, to respect other life forms. And I really believe we can step up here as a humanity with more respect to the planet, more respect to the life forms in the oceans, on the planet, and in the air, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we have some work to do. And then the last one, the sixth, is our collective rights and responsibility. Because as a humanity, we can change this. We can do this. As a humanity, united, we will change.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
7 great pillars, I call them. So what inspired you to start the foundation?
Yeah, in 2015, I wrote this book. You cannot hardly see it. It's called A State of Grace, Human Rights and Human Obligations. And I'm rewriting the book because a lot of the text right now is in English, but in Swedish, in English. But before that, what inspired me to write the book a decade ago was when I divorced. And well, my ex-husband's grief came out in a very destructive way. So I can relate to, all the millions of people today who are in fear and suffering. And it was really, really crazy, Steve. It was horrible. Death threats, and I had, at one point, I had like a red laser dot in my forehead.
Wow.
It was, yeah, in Sweden. So what also happened was that my ex-husband, he developed a brain tumor, and he died in 2015. So that's when I wrote the book, A State of Grace, Rights, and then I call it Obligations, because as I talked about, these principles, I give my ex-husband the right to hate me, because we do have, and I believe we have all the rights to all our emotions, but we also have a responsibility. So yeah, so that's and it's really, I feel like I'm so I get this question a lot, how did you come to think of this? And I think it's because of my Swedishness, maybe. um, seeing both the historical perspectives, and my views has deepened a lot, helping my friend in her funeral business. And I've seen, I've casketed more than 3,000 people.
Wow.
I've seen all ages, the youngest being 1 day old, and the oldest being 107 years old, Steve. There's hope.
Wow. That's
and,
crazy.
yeah, and I've seen people with literally all colors, including the color you have on your sweater, and the green and the blue, and everything in between. And I've casketed the guy who lived on the street for 15 years. I casketed the lady in the Chanel dress. And so when I talk about our equal human worth, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I've seen all religions. I've attended more than 1,300 funerals.
It's a lot. You've seen a lot of death. That's
I've
for
seen
sure.
a lot of death. For 5 years, I helped my friend, and I've seen, all the major. I've seen Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Sikh, and also secular ceremonies. So I know the importance of the ceremonies, and also that's why the human contract is not religious. It's not party political. It's just being human.
Yeah, it's being what we are. What do you
Yeah.
think your 25 years experience in leadership in HR has helped you today with the human rights?
I think it's really the human contract is that's a good question. It's to provide for the right preconditions to be our best self, and to provide with a very, very thin framework, just stating our rights and responsibility, and the encouragement just to mature. And I think that's, for me, that is the core of leadership. It depends on who you are, where you are, your background, your mindset, and that we're all part of this evolution, right?
Yeah.
I am the daughter from my parents, and from our generations back, and how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive one another, and what I can or cannot do just because I'm white or a woman, or all the labels that we put on each other. So that's the core of leadership for me, to try to provide for the right framework so that you could live your potential better.
What challenges did you have during the COVID with the funeral home? I'm sure there was plenty, but you have a story or two of challenges that you dealt with?
Yeah. It's good. The challenges during the pandemic.
I can feel there's plenty. It's
Yeah.
such a different time, and death was a different
Actually,
animal during COVID.
yeah, it was. Actually, I was in February in 2020. I was invited to be at the Swedish Opera Winfrey, and she interviewed people who are in the funeral business, and it was just before the pandemic. So so I talked a lot about dignity, which is really my core value. Steve, dignity for me is when you, as the king you are, and I am the queen that I am, that we have our crown, and to try to navigate with mutual respect, with dignity. So dignity is my core value, and it was even more obvious working with funerals. And then, so my way of dignity was, it was like a ceremony, coming in and triple checking the ID, and fluffing the pillow, preparing the body, putting it in the casket, tuck them in, and I held the casket lid, and I always curtsy.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so I've done that 3,000 times. I always curtsy. It's like
it's respect. Yeah. So dignity should be a big part of the funeral business, I would think, because you've got family, friends outside that are coming for the last time to see somebody. Probably one of the most memorable experiences most people have is a funeral and a wedding.
Yeah.
But the funeral's the end, which death to me that's just the beginning, but that's a whole different thing.
Emotional release.
Yeah.
And so dignity, I noticed that there were different ways. So I was re-invited then to the Swedish Opera Winfrey, and then I talked about how dignity can shift. It doesn't have to be a certain way. So I kept on. I always, because people were in body bags, and we had, the masks, and we had, the whole thing. It was another kind of procedure, but I always held the casket lid, and I always curtsied every single time, and that was dignity for me. So some things shifted, but it's still to be respectful. And
Yeah.
like I said earlier, no matter age, no matter background, no matter gender or your back or who you are, all the labels that we have equal human worth.
Yeah, that's true. And we're missing that right now, like you said earlier. What's the future of human rights? Lots changed. What do you think the future looks like?
Oh, I envision a world where we wake up and we feel harmony, where we feel health, a world where we respect and love our body when we wake up, and where we listen to what our body needs, the food and the sleep and the exercise, the fundamentals that provide for this life here and now. And I envision a life where we have more communication all over the world, such as this dialogue that you and I are having now on each
Yeah.
side of the pond.
Yes. Amazing. That's
Yeah.
great.
And it's a different life. And it's also for the future generations. And I believe, the fundaments that we have built on as a species until now, and moving onwards, Kardashev's civilization scale.
I don't.
Okay, so Kardashev made a scale on civilization, and we, according to him, we are on the scale of 0.73 type of civilization. So to become a 1.0 civilization, it's a planetary civilization. And I believe that, we need to look back and embrace our humanity. We have 350 million people who are indigenous people. There's so much learning from all these different types of our history and all the types of civilizations that we have on this planet, and the wisdom. So in the future, we need to embrace the history that we do have, and to find the gemstones of each region, of each cultural, and embracing that, and to stand proud of what we have created, make peace with what needs to be made peace with in our human history, because there have been atrocities that we need to address. But embracing that and moving onwards to a planetary civilization. And I know there are billionaires who are very eager to become interplanetary civilizations. And, yeah, that's all cute, but but we need it's like, the addict, and I working with human resources, I've seen addiction, and it's trying to escape from something that you don't feel comfortable with, instead of embracing it and, moving onwards to other planets. We have this planet, and it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and we as a species, we have so much potential.
So to offer. A lot to offer. Absolutely.
Yeah, we do. And so the coming generations, I also believe we already have all the solutions here and now, but we need to connect more. We need to collaborate more to find the right solutions and to fit the puzzles, so that we can, and that we will create this future. Yeah.
This is really good. It's been a great show. We've come to the end. Speaking of communication, how can people reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah, either on LinkedIn, Maria Dolores, or on the website, thehumancontract.world. It's a non-profit, and looking for great collaboration partners and connections, and to build this movement that is so needed now.
It's fantastic. Well, let's end with a little fun question here.
Yes.
So in Sweden, there's a restaurant. Say it's your favorite restaurant. I've reserved the table for 4. You're obviously going to sit in one chair. Who would you invite in the other 3 empty chairs, dead or alive? Why would they be invited? And what food would you order?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, dig deep now.
Oh, dig deep. Quick. Oh, I haven't thought about this. I would love to have, let's see, if I would look back, I would love to have Lucy represented on the table. One of the first humans that were on the planet.
Yeah.
I would love to have Lucy. I would like to have Rousseau.
It's a tough question.
It is. Lucy, Rousseau, and I think I would like to have, I really am, I'm fascinated by Richard Branson and his mindset and his perspectives, and I think he would understand what
He'd
I'm
be a
doing.
good one. So what food would you order? What's your favorite food?
Fish. I really like fish.
There you go.
I think that's good. That would be good for all of us to have.
Oh yeah, they would be very happy.
And yeah, Lucy would be happy too.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Maria, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest, giving us some great human connections and contracts that we need to work with. Audience, subscribe to the YouTube channel and take this link with Maria. And people that are worried about human conscious, human connection, human contracts, share it with them. It's a gift. This podcast be a gift to somebody because you could change and impact their life. What a great thing to do. And any other podcast that you run into, whether it's mine or somebody else's, share those links out. Hey, I just saw this guy or saw this gal, or listen to Maria. They're wonderful. It's a great way for people to get to know each other, but maybe learn, educate, motivate, and inspire. With that being said, me and Maria, all the way out on the other side of the world in Sweden, thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.